Now, hello everyone, this is Robin speaking. Thank you for joining me on your Sunday afternoon. I welcome you to our webinar about real estate market update. I created it because there is a lot of changes going on, and in the next 60 minutes, I would like to walk you through everything which I think is very relevant that you should know, what's happening on the real estate market and what will help you to get some competitive advantage on the market so that you can navigate yourself more easily. Now, I'll be going through slides. I also want to inform you we're going to record this webinar, so please keep it in mind. There is an option to drop any questions, so please don't hesitate. Drop them to the questions. I will be answering them at the end. I've reserved about 60 minutes for this seminar, so in the end, depending on how many questions, we might go a little bit above this time limit. So let's see where it goes. The agenda for today, there is a general introduction. What are we going to discuss today? Something a bit about myself for those who don't know me. Some key parameters. We need to be on the same page what we are speaking about. So this is what the key parameters section is about. And then the most interesting would be the market overview. I want to speak about what happened that led us to the current market situation. And there are mainly three parts I want to focus on, which is the interest rates, real estate market, and rental statistics. Now, from that, we will move to the trends in 2023, because I guess the most common question on what you want to hear is, what does it mean for me? What I can take away from that? How can I put it to practice? So we will focus that on the second half of the webinar, and then answering the obvious question, is it now right time to buy? Now, spoiler alert, I'm not going to give you an easy answer, but we're going to have a little discussion about that. And in the end, questions are to come. Now, about the introduction, I was saying that this current market situation is one of the most, I don't want to say challenging, confusing, but it's very interesting to see what happened on the market last year versus last 10 years. I've been a mortgage advisor for the last 10 years, and I can tell you this year is the most interesting to be on the real estate market. A lot of things are happening, and it's complete shift in the market if we look on the market a year ago. That brings me to the second point, seller's market in turning into a buyer's market. Those of you who have been looking to purchase a property already for quite some time, you probably know the struggle from last year or a year before when you wanted to purchase something. There were a lot of people interested. Now, fast forwarding to today's market, it's complete change. So we will be discussing this a little bit again in more detail. I want to also disclose that I'm going to be oriented more about Prague market, because most expats I deal with are from Prague or around Prague, from central Bohemia. We also do help expats from all around the world, but for the sake of this seminar, I'll be focusing mainly on Prague area and then whole Czech Republic. Depending on people, if people are interested, we can also do a second webinar about smaller cities. We can focus on Brno, Olomouc, Ostrava, Pilsen. Let me know in the comments later on that if this is interesting to you. I want to also inform that the main source data for us is a company called Valuo.cz. This is a company we cooperate with. They are specialists for gathering data from the internet about real estate and land registry. I know there are a lot of companies on the market. I particularly favor Valuo because they are a little bit different, because they pair data from the advertised prices and realized prices. Now, more on it on the next slide, and let's go forward. Now, who we are. Expats Finance is my company. My name is Robin Petrasek, and a quick introduction in case you want to know who the hell is this guy who's speaking to you, why he thinks he's eligible to inform me about the real estate market. So I want to say that I've been on the market for 10 years as a mortgage advisor for expats before I worked in the banks for 4 years. So I have a huge banking and financing industry, and because we focus everything about real estate, we formed the company, which is called Expats Finance. It's a group of 3 mortgage advisors and a lawyer, and we help foreigners in getting a new home or a property or investment. Now, I will move now to the reason why you came here. That's the information. So feel free to save the QR code. This is our contact details. There will be one more at the end of the presentation. Key parameters. I was saying we need to be on the same page when we discuss certain thing. Let me start with price per square meter. This is the most common parameter factor, however we call it, how we differ the price. Some people ask me, Robin, is this a good price or not? I always have to transfer it to price per square meter. So for your information, you will see a lot of numbers. And in general, this webinar is a lot about graphs. I like you like graphs, you like numbers, just like I do, and I'll do my best to explain them to you. So price per square meter, we'll be talking about this all the time. Also, final purchase price. Property is being sold at 10 million. Okay, so is the 10 million a realized price or advertised price? This is very important to understand the difference. Advertised price is what you see on S-Reality or wherever you look online, or if somebody writes you, I will sell it to you for a certain amount of money. But now realized price is actually what happened. You don't know if they get some other discount. This information you can buy from the land registry. You can select any property in the Czech Republic, your landlord's property, and if you go to land registry page, I can drop the link later on, you can check certain cost of or how much they bought it for. So these are realized prices, and it's very important to put them in line. And that's what we're going to speak about, the main difference between those prices, because that's for you very important to understand what prices are we actually speaking about. That's one more thing why I like Valuo, because they make it clear what prices are we speaking about. There are some other indexes on the market. To me comes Reality Mix. It's sometimes people see it, sometimes use it, and it gives you average price, purchase price. But which price are they speaking about? So moving on, types of property. Again, very important to distinguish. Are we speaking about panel building, brick building, new building, land, cottage? So again, we cannot take the data into one and then just present it's 10% up. What is for 10% up? So these are types of properties. Again, one of the key parameters I will be discussing. And amount of available housing. Last year, I remember there were less than 50,000 properties on S-Reality. Now it's more than 100%. When I started in 2014, I think the number was above 100,000. This is one more factor to keep in consideration or parameter, and that is how many flats are actually out there. Now, moving on, the main market changers in 2022 are these. I consider in this probably in this list. However, we can argue the unfortunate situation and the war in Ukraine caused a lot of migration of citizens looking for accommodation. So this is one very big thing which happened. It also caused increase of energy costs. So while people, for example, living in the US, they will not see such a big difference in their monthly consumption costs. In the Czech Republic, because we were very dependent on Russian energies, this is a very relevant topic. So that has to do with the first reason and generate uncertainty on the market. People don't know what might be happening in a couple of months, couple of years, and that brings an uncertainty on the market. The second factor are interest rates. Czech National Bank is aware where the market is going or where it was going, and they were pointing out at the possible risk of kind of overheating market, what they used. And they started to regulate the market. They already tried before COVID came. You will see it on the graphs I will be showing. And then or recently, a year ago, they really pulled the brake and started to put the interbanking rates up. This is the main reason why I would say the interest rates are so high, and why people are not borrowing so much these days and not buying properties because of high interest rates. Simply, it's expensive for people to borrow money. And the last thing I would mention is limitation by Czech National Bank. Not only it's expensive, it is also limited for certain people. I would like to pinpoint, for example, down payment. If you purchase with a mortgage, you must bring a down payment unless you have other collateral. And you need to bring minimum 10 or 20% down payment depending on your age. So age is a new limitation factor which came in last April, introduced by a Czech National Bank. So that's important to keep in mind. And even though you can afford it, maybe it's just due to the limitation, certain people are not able to take the mortgage or buy the property they want. Let me speak about interest rates. As I said, they are one of the main driving factors, and when you look on a mortgage these days, you will see rates around 6%. With this graph, you can see the history of average offering interest rates for different fixations. Typically, we focus on 5 years fixation, so that'll be the light blue there. And you see for the last 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 months, they've been pretty much the same. And it follows directly the Czech National Bank. Czech National Bank set the rates at the same level. They didn't move them since the last 6 months. Well, and the mortgage market is following it. Are we at the peak of the interest rates right now? I sincerely hope so. It's already quite expensive. To put it to perspective, these are the numbers you can see on a specific mortgage example of 5 million over 30 years. Now, with interest rates of 6% versus 2.5% on the same amount, the same duration, you pay 50% more increase just on the interest. So this is big changer. So for the same flat, if the price wouldn't move, you just pay more because of the bank wants more interest. You can imagine with these high interest rates, people are not so motivated to borrow money with the pace they used to do before. What it means on the mortgage market, it suffered a big hit. Banks in 2022, they provided 64% less mortgages than the year before. This is a crazy difference in terms of the production of the banks. I can confirm it as a mortgage advisor from first hand. There is indeed less inquiries for mortgages starting from last year. The overall drop 64% is the biggest drop year-to-year average since probably ever. Important to say 2021 was record year. So we are not comparing to an average year. 2021 was record one and then 22 was record low. Let's see where 2023 will lead us. To put it again to more perspective, you need to understand the history of the rates in Czech Republic. The biggest change, I would say these days, is the rate. They went up so fast. We didn't have every year plus 1%. It really went from what you see here on the previous slide, really from 2.5 to 6% within less than one or within 1 year, right? And what you see on this slide is last time from 4%. So when people increased from 4 to 5, 6, they were not really that surprised for the change. But now people are used to 2%, 3% interest rates, and this is a tremendous increase, 50% higher now. You can see this is a big psychological effect. Now you can tell me, yes, the graph seems to end in the half of the year. It's true. I couldn't find more relevant one. So, but this, at least from here, it's pretty much the flat. Czech National Bank regulating the market. There are certain, they call it Pribor, Lombard, discount rate, how Czech National Bank is influencing the amount of money in the economy. You can see going back here, the rates were relatively high in 2008, 2009, then they were lower. Of course, good time, everything was perfect. And then you see before 2020, Czech National Bank, they predicted the high inflation and they saw, guys, there's something happening. We need to regulate the market. And they started doing that. And they were on a good way. Like you see, here is a drop. But if there wouldn't be a drop, it would be a steady increase. And it would be, let's say, more natural, the current situation on the market. But then COVID came. And because Czech National Bank had to stimulate the economy, they simply had to put the rates back down. And that just caused further borrowings and property prices going through the roof in 2020, 2021. Well, and now here we are with the lovely rates, 5-6%. That was about interest rates. You can see that now we are probably, I don't want to say as bad as it can get, but probably close to it. So that's the good news. If you are on the market now, if you know the rates are 5-6%, by the way, the best rate you can get on the market right now for mortgage is 5.69. This is the lowest rate. You can find some offers 5.49, but that is usually life insurance including, which is not always a good deal. So compare, and I'm going now to a real estate market. The data presenting here again by company Valuo, and what you see right now is amount of listings on properties on sreality.cz. It is true, most properties are indeed on sreality, depending on the market. If we go outside of Prague to my home city, Ostrava, you will find a lot of properties on Avizo, which is a kind of newspaper all-the-way version. I want to say in Prague, sreality is a very relevant source, and you can see the amount of listings increased by more than 100% compared to a year ago. The data is from December. And as you see, it starts to, I don't want to say it starts to go down, but there is a change in the trend. what it looks like it found again its peak. So the highest amount of properties available on S-Reality was somewhere in November, December. I confirm, I saw numbers like I think 95,000 properties available, something like this. Important to say, these are both rentals and sales. So both of these combined are the number of 90-something thousand. With this, you can understand, so right, with this, there is 100% more properties than it used to be a year ago. So more properties to select from. This is good news. It is also because the properties are not being sold so fast, so they are on the market much longer. I think the current statistics is 36% of properties for sale are on S-Reality more than 120 days, which is quite a high number. So if you imagine those properties sitting there for a long time, 1/3 of them are like that. So important, keep in mind. Now, this was S-Reality adverts, but the real data coming from ČUZK, Český statistický zeměměřický katastrální, I'm sorry for those Czech speakers here. What it shows is the amount of sales of properties according to the land registry. And sorry, the green ones are flats, these are houses. And you can see that year-to-year comparison now compared to a year ago, 26% drop of volume of properties actually going through the land registry. But what's important here or interesting is if you look in the September, October, it seems like the property, it's picking up, like it dropped down. The rates are, I keep reminding, rates are still the same. So here, I think you can see the psychological effect. It went high very fast. People didn't get too much interested. And with time, just people get used to it. Humans get used to everything. So give it 6 more months. And I can confirm it from my own experience. If I compare January to 6 months ago, yes, 6 months ago, very lower amount of people were inquiring. These days, I can't believe a lot of people looking into the market. Logically, they got used to the interest rates, and there is information on the media. You can see property prices are going down. So that's interesting to, I'm curious, I'm very happy to confirm the trend, and you can show that people start to buy property again a little bit more, still 26% less than a year ago. Now, this, in my opinion, is a very interesting graph. Please pay attention to this, and I'll explain those points. So panel buildings in green, brick buildings without newly built, so renovated brick buildings, for example, and newly built are yellow. What it shows is change of prices according to construction type, and these are the offering prices. Valuo decided to take away Prague 1 and Prague 2. When I spoke with the CEO of Valuo on Friday, he said, well, we did it because there are, if, for example, there is a development project being sold in Prague 1, Prague 2, it will affect the average of prices. So just for the sake of getting rid of the extremes, they just removed Prague 1 and 2. Unfortunately, I would like to see that, but what you read here is if you compare the market right now to Q2, and by market, I mean Q4 versus Q2, the average advertising price is 6.9% lower than it used to be 6 months ago or 2 quarters ago. What does it mean? So look, imagine a property worth 10 million on the market on S-Reality 6 months ago. Same property on average should be advertised 6.9% lower. Should it be panel? 4.9 for brick, 2.5 for newly built. Now let me stick with panel buildings. 6.9, so that means the flat which was for 10 million now is 9,310,000. Not bad discount. And this is just 6 months what happened. We've been speaking about the offering prices. These are the offering prices, but we need to know, okay, so last known online price, but how much was it sold for actually? Now, going into that particular topic is offering versus realized prices. This graph was interesting mainly towards the end, where you can see the difference between offering prices and realized prices. Now, Valuo, they picked properties for where they knew both realized and advertised prices, and they put the data together. And as you can see, lately, in the last year or so, there is bigger difference in terms of how much the properties are being advertised for and how much they're actually being sold for. In other words, people are getting more discounts. That meaning bargain, negotiate. This graph confirms in real numbers what it actually is. I want to point out here between year 2019 and 2020, there seems to be already an indication of drop on the market. And that was, if you remember, I was saying about increasing interest rates. So when the rates started to increase, the property prices, they slowed down a little bit, but then COVID happened and whoop, here we are again. Here you can see the difference and the discount, I would say, in better presentation. What it shows here, let's focus on the end. So right now, this is December, the average advertised and realized price was 6.2% lower. Very important information to keep in mind. I want to say the flat, which you see right now on S-Reality for 10 million, most likely will be sold with 6.2% discount. Now, this is a data throughout the whole Czech Republic. We have to take it, of course, with, this is average, right? So it will not work for each properties. Some properties obviously will be devaluated or they will suffer the drop much more than some other ones. We can be speaking about properties which may maintain value. I will try to come back to this a little bit later, but here is a proof that the property prices are indeed getting sold with a discount because Valuo paired the last known advert prices with real data from the land registry. And also interesting is here 2021, if you see there is a tiny drop under 0%. And what it shows is that actually for a fraction of time, average realized price was higher than the asking price. Those of you being on the market back then, you can remember that when you wanted to purchase something, you might have to go into a bidding war with other people. Oh, I'll pay 100,000 more. I pay 200,000 more. Agents were also doing those auctions that they tried to put the price as high as possible. Obviously, the market allowed it. And here is, again, confirmation of that trend. So the good news is now, two good news so far. Market is going down. Last 6 months, about 6.9% on panel buildings. And also average discount, 6.2%. Now, if we put it together, we're getting quite interesting discount compared to 6 months ago. Showing data on houses. Now, with houses, it is a little bit more difficult to value the properties. I'll excuse myself. Houses in general, as I said, harder to evaluate because of locations and the types of the buildings. While if we value a flat in Vinohrady on a certain street, we can take a data from flats around it and very easily we can estimate the expected value, plus minus. But for a family house, how do you evaluate the, I don't know, quality of air, or how do you evaluate the view, amount of trees nearby, the noise? It's much harder. That's why you see a bigger difference here between the offering price and realized price, because people negotiate more on family houses than or on flats. To confirm it in a similar graph, you can see that currently, it is pretty much the same number. 6 point something is the average discount you are getting or clients can get for last known advertised price and realized price. For new developments, now this data is very fresh from Mr. Schitera from Valuo, who didn't manage to put it yet into the graphics, but what it shows is the change of offering prices of new development projects in those time periods. Now, it's not the same what you saw on the slide before. You might have remembered in Prague, it was 2.5% lower. Why is it now different? Because we're referring to a specific quarter. We're referring now to a month, February until April last year, and now last 3 months, including January. And if we take the average price within that period of time and compare it to that period a year ago, almost, we already see that there is a quite drop also in new developments. Developments usually maintain the value easier or better than second properties. Also, I want to say that there's like, when you compare properties, quality properties and unique properties usually have the values like they hold the value a bit better than for example panel buildings. There are a lot of panel buildings which are completely look-alike, and these suffer more the trends. I also think it's because there has been recently a big increase in the last couple of years of the panel buildings, and the fast they went up, the fast they go down. It's not the same for new developments. They've been pretty much increasing steadily since the last 10 years. What's happening in Olomouc? Guys, anyone from Olomouc? Can you tell me why in Olomouc there is still increase of the new builds? Now, my colleague from real estate, Nick Marley, with whom I'm cooperating a lot in the last 10 years, and who's property investor himself, he was explaining in Olomouc, maybe one of the factors is the new Amazon center. You maybe know they build it, I think, in Kojetín, village or city nearby. Maybe that's why managers need to live in some fancy flats in Olomouc. Who knows? So moving on to the next slide, and that is rent statistics. Now for rental, what I'm going to present to you is not probably a big surprise, and you can most likely guess the main driving factor which caused the cost of rent. Not only that, when people, the logic would go, if people stop buy properties, they rent more. I would follow with that. So now there are less people buying properties, so more people are now looking to rent. Okay, that's one factor. But the second factor is the one which I mentioned as the first, the war in Ukraine. And something which is macroeconomical reason that there's something which we didn't predict, and that caused a lot of people going at the same time onto the market, which you can see this is the change of listings on the market in the last 1 year going from December. And this is the whole Czech Republic. Now you can see, of course, from March till April, massive drop of available flats. And then since then, it kind of slowly picked up in terms of available amount of available flats. We're not speaking prices yet. But if we look now to Prague, not so good. What it means, Prague is still is the most sought after city for people to live in, and there are just simply not enough flats for people to live in. People are not buying, well, therefore they must rent, and this graph confirms that, well, pretty much the same time there is a significant drop in new purchases and increase in rentals. Now, again, driven mainly by the situation and the unfortunate war in Ukraine, and a lot of people who are living here, hopefully temporarily, but possibly, I think the last news said that about one quarter of people of Ukraine living here, they intend to stand here for later on. I don't know what it means. I don't know what is, like, this is the uncertainty I was speaking about. We don't know what's coming, and this has a big impact. With this, I want to show that if you are in a position that you want to rent the property yourself for you to live in, not so good. However, if you are a landlord and you are putting your property for rent, now this graph will make you a bit more happier, but probably you already know the rents are going up. Surprise, surprise. Since first quarter, we can see increase of 18% of these are advertised prices. There is no way how we can know the realized prices. Because when we purchase or when we rent, when we purchase, we get the data from S-Reality and from land registry. But if we rent, well, we get it from S-Reality, and then who confirms how much I bought it for or rented it for? It can be only the real estate agency. So again, Valuo is working with a big portion of real estate agencies who report actually the data they rent it out for. But I want to make clear here that this is the average price of asking rental. Now, people, please don't take me literally. Now you might think of, okay, so if I have 100 square meter, now this means I should rent it out for 35,000. Again, that's average. So of course, in Černý Most, you will not rent it for as much as if you rent it in Žižkov or in Prague one. So what I'm presenting here are the averages. Now, we are 30 minutes through our seminar. I'm going to move to what are the trends in 2023. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, guys. All of these are my educated guesses, predictions. Take it with a pinch of salt. I've been on the market long enough, so I think I can give a little bit more light into it. But again, nobody knows the future. But let's see what the future holds. Interest rates, as you know, these are the main driving factors. Inflation and PRIBOR rates. This is one of the three or whatever amount of excuse me, regulatory instruments the Czech National Bank uses. If you're interested to know what it is, PRIBOR, just put it to Wikipedia. It will explain to you better than I can. As you see, Czech National Bank is quite positive in terms of expectations. They are thinking, yeah, don't worry, we will take the inflation back to what it is, 6% by end of the year. I'm not always that positive as Czech National Bank. Well, they know better, of course, but there is a lot of politics involved. Personally, the inflation, which is right now 15, 16, 17%, whatever, is the highest since ever, probably in Czech history, and also to do with interest rates. So, how to say, when people are thinking, okay, but the rates will go down, right? Eventually, yes, I think they should, but when and by how much? Will we see again 2% interest rates? I don't think so. I don't think for a long time, like 5 years minimum. What we saw here, I don't think it was too healthy for the economy. Now, I'm not an economist myself, but if you can borrow money for 1.5%, well, what it does with property prices, it does exactly what it did, causes tremendous increase. I want to get to the point that to think what would have to happen so the rates get down. Now you know that regular banks follow typically Czech National Bank. So whatever Czech National Bank does, regular banks will follow. So when will the Czech National Bank drop the rates? I believe when they will see inflation under control. What is under control? Well, that's relative. But I would say that until we see better improvement on the inflation, personally, I can't see it happening anytime soon. They're not going to move the rates. They are now at 7%, the interbanking rate, and I don't think they are intending to move it. I think even in the last gathering of the Czech National Bank, they agreed they're remaining it the same. And with the new people, the people in the Czech National Bank are changing all the time. And right now, I think the new person who got in, they are not for increase. So I think the rate will be as they are right now. Projecting this whole year will be between 5 to 6%. This is the information you can hear from people from the field, from the industry, like me, other mortgage advisors, possibly real estate people. I sincerely believe we are not going to see any better development than 5 to 6% by end of this year. I hope I will be wrong in terms of that I'm a little bit too pessimistic, that maybe we will see better numbers. Who knows? The second graph shows, like in general, the expectation of the rates by the Czech National Bank. I said it is not the same, but just take it as some kind of tool you can follow. And obviously, they will be lower. Now, when can we get to 3% interest rates? I hear you asking. 2-3 years, not sooner, I guess. As you see, like this is a hard topic, and my crystal ball, I left it at home. So sorry, guys, for not getting better outcome. Now, some prognosis for this year. Sales picking up in terms of volume. You saw in the graphs before that already it started to go up. The property, I don't mean the property prices, but the amount of volumes. People got used to it. So yes, they got scared in the beginning, but now rates are the same, property prices are going down. So why don't I look on the market? With this, I wanted to confirm that it's getting better, even for real estate people. Friends who I have who are real estate agents, they say, yeah, 3-4 months ago, it was really, really bad. Now it's getting kind of better, a little bit better. So this is in terms of volume of properties being sold. Buyers got used to high interest rates. I keep repeating this. So I will not probably discuss this much further. What it means is that with 6%, yes, it's expensive, but people who if your income is, I shoot crazy number, guys, if it is 150,000 per month and your mortgage repayment is going to be 30,000 or 45,000, well, yes, it's 15,000 more, but what it means is people who can afford it, they are not going to be that much influenced. If rates go up, more drop in prices. Well, surprise, surprise. With this, I wanted to say that everything what I'm saying before is with the assumption that the Czech National Bank is not going to increase the rates much further. I don't think so. If they are going to increase it, I think they mentioned they will increase it by just a tiny bit. I don't know, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, not by another 5%. So I want to confirm, unless there is a change in the direction of the trend, I think sorry, guys. Sorry, don't read the comments when you're doing the presentation. This is my takeaway. Going back here. So safe mortgage portfolio. This is something which in Czech Republic we are quite known for, and people coming from other markets might not know this. Czech banking system is very bureaucratical, yes, and it's very healthy. If you think in 2008, 2009, in Czech Republic, there was no single bank which defaulted. In all around the world, you can see big banking houses which were really suffering, not in the Czech Republic. Also, mortgage portfolio, what I mean by safe, it means defaulted mortgages are very, very low. I'm sorry, guys, I don't have the number in my head right now, but we are like number one or top three in the whole Europe. Speaking of how is it dangerous for the market? Like if you compare it to the US in 2008, there were provided a lot of unsecured mortgages. This is not happening in the Czech Republic. The banks are doing their due diligence very, very well. And with this, they know who they lend the money to, and the portfolio is very safe. And it brings me to the next point, meaning no pressure for most people to sell. Well, take it with a pinch of salt, but I wanted to express also with confirmation of the previous one, there was quite a lot of news about those types of households who might be forced to sell due to increased household costs, energy costs, mortgage refinancing, which will be much more expensive. But I don't think, I didn't read any specific statistic. I didn't pick up anything in the news. It doesn't just feel to me that it is really that bad as people might have think. Well, and the safe mortgage portfolio statistic confirms it. Hopefully that's a good news for people who already got their mortgage and they didn't over leverage them too much. And again, this is why the regulations are here for. So some people might think, oh, why I cannot borrow what I want. It's for good of the market. Czech National Bank, they kind of know what they're doing. Land maintaining value, cottages drop. Did anybody of you bought a cottage last year? Did you look into the property prices of cottages last year? They, in my opinion, they were, I don't say the underdog, but for a long time on the market, I think they were ignored. And a couple of years ago, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years maximum, they got picked up because properties were already so expensive. And people were with the mindset, oh, we can't buy really much in Prague, so let us buy at least some cottage somewhere so we can at least get something. Also, the general mood in the economy was very positive. So, well, we have already a flat in Prague. Why don't we buy a cottage? I know it doesn't make financial sense, but we can afford it. Let's go. That was the cottages market in a nutshell years ago. But now, because cottages, well, I don't want to say there's not much of a use for them. Of course there is. But if you have to sell your home or your cottage, what you're going to sell? Obviously the cottages. So the fast they went up, the fast they go down. So if you wanted to look for a cottage last year and you got discouraged by how expensive they are, well, look again, because you can again see cottages under 1 million. Of course, the status of it will be bad, but that's my point. It also do with the energy costs. Back then, people didn't they didn't care too much about the energy rating of the buildings. These days, it's one of the most common topic people ask, what is the energy rating of your building? And this is fun fact. And, you know, a lot of people are hating panel buildings, say, oh, panel buildings, they're ugly, whatnot, but they're much more efficient than those old Prague flats, which have very high ceilings. The windows are old, usually not isolating too much. Walls are thick, yeah, but that's the only positive thing. So they're not built in the modern technologies. And this is important to keep in mind. When you buy a flat, or any property, keep in consideration the energy cost now more than ever, because of the energy costs. Hopefully it will not be so relevant in the future anymore, but that's one of the reasons why cottages drop. On the other hand, land, as you can see, land has almost no effect to what are the energy costs. If you just buy a land, it is a land, and it's going to be land in 5 years, 10 years, and land maintained the value. Also in, I think, the 2008, 2009, the cost of the land or the value of the land didn't change much, or maybe not even all. I want to confirm with this that certain properties, they are more, how to say, they suffer more the trends on the market, cottages, panel buildings, and then properties which are a bit more safer, brick, new development, land. So we can take like the edges of the portfolio. I would say the most fluctuating ups and down would be cottages. The most stable will be land investment. And now the good news is sweet spot for property investment. Now with this, I don't want to say now is the best time to buy a property ever. No. I want to say that for property investment, specifically buy to let, meaning you purchase a property which you intend to rent it out. When you buy it for your own living, obviously you have the added value that you're going to live in it yourself. You can utilize it. You can, it's hard to evaluate how much you use it personally. But for property investments, it's pure numbers. We look at property value, rental potential. That's about it. And rental yield, as you saw in the graphs, I know it was just for Prague, but the trend is similar everywhere in the Czech Republic. The rents are going up. Well, that's one information. Property price is going down. Okay, good. What about the third one? Interest rates. We're not so good here. So good for where the direction of rents is going, good where the property rents are going. So theoretically, what it puts in together is the time works in your favor. The more you wait, the better deals you can have. Theoretically, not always. I want to always say that if you are now thinking, oh, shall I buy now or shall I buy in 6 months? I'm looking to purchase an investment property and I'm going on a viewing on Friday and I hope to sign reservation next week. And then you might think, oh, Robin, why don't you wait 6 more months? And why don't you buy a property later on? And my reason is it's already good enough. It can be better, possibly, but I'm not sure. I don't know the future. So although, yes, the trend shows it will be better, but I'm buying in Ostrava, in my home city, and I plan to purchase more property. So the first one I'm buying now, the second one, hopefully in a few months. And then later on, I want to say, if you are able to get the numbers you want, I was saying discount, maybe it's already, if you compare the certain property to the same property, you already see it is going down in value. And then you can, if you can negotiate some discount on top of it, brilliant. You can basically jump in time rather than waiting. So if you would be waiting for the right moment, you will be waiting 6 months and then something else might happen. But if you buy it now, and if you can get the discount, which will get you to the time where you would be waiting anyway, why not? The last thing is interest rates. Now, the interest rates of 6% or 5.69, whatever I was saying, yeah, it's not the best for investment. On the other hand, if you look for how big companies invest, 5-6% is not something extraordinary. Like this is not that high interest rates. And whatever calculations I'm doing, and when I'm doing my calculations for my flat, it still makes sense, even with 6% interest. So long story short, do your numbers, but I believe that this year will be very interesting for property investments, for renting out. This is my takeaway. Now, the most obvious and difficult question, is it the right time to buy? As I said, I'm not going to give you yes or no. I'm going to give you the insight of somebody from the market, of how I would think, what you all need to take into consideration, whether yes or no. So I'm repeating here what you probably understood is more properties and lower prices. That's true. Finally, after 10 years, I thought it's never going to go down, something like London, but luckily, yes, it started to go down. So more opportunities, less competition and better position. I was saying that you can, there are less buyers, so you don't have to leave the viewing with the information from the broker. Tell me tomorrow, otherwise it will be sold. You can take your time, and what I'm doing myself is I just offer crazy low prices. So whenever you saw that the average realized price is 6.2% under the asking price, what I do is I offer 10-20% less. Yeah, of course, I get some comments like, are you crazy? I say, well, I did the numbers. So pardon me. For me, it's not interesting at the asking price what you're selling, dear agent. But if you would consider 20% down or 10% down, like you cannot do it everywhere, obviously. If the property is priced well, the agent is going to ignore that. But for some properties, don't hesitate and bargain and leverage the above. That's my take. That's my message. And don't hesitate to just offer lower prices. You might be in a situation where the agent will say, no, hell no. But in 1 month, 2 months, they'll come back and they'll say, you know, remember when you made that offer? What if we talk about it? There's nothing, it doesn't hurt to do the price. The same way how the agents, they were pushing the prices up last year. Now it's time for the buyers to push the prices down. Banks provide exceptions. This is more for people who are needed in financing. And maybe last year or 2 years ago, the market banks were too busy with mortgages. And if you 2 years ago or a year and something ago wanted to get exception, the banks would be more like, well, not really. We have plenty of business. This year, if we need something discussed with the banks, they're much more willing, and they are, well, you saw the number yourself, 64% down. So they are hungry for business. That's a good news. Moving to the negative information, and that is still relatively high interest rates, especially compared to what it used to be. So if you take away your mindset away from what the rates were in the last couple of years, then it's not that bad, but still we're speaking of relatively high interest rates on the Czech market. If you look on the last 10 years, yes, they are high. Limited max mortgage, that has to do with the regulations. I didn't go too much into the details saying how it is calculated. Guys, reach out to me. I'll be happy to explain it to you, everyone individually. And we can calculate. This is one of the main things we do for clients, is how much I can actually borrow. But for some people, it's limited. So keep it in mind. You might not be able to get the financing you actually want. Expensive properties. Well, still, you probably know Czech Republic, if you compare it to the price per to the buying power of or average salary of a Czech citizen or people living in the Czech Republic. Yes, we are like one of the worst in the whole Europe, if not the worst, or some statistics, it depends, like we're number 3, number 1. How many salaries, average Czech salaries you have to save in order to buy an average flat in Prague, for example. I think it's like 16 or 17 years of savings without no spending. So yes, properties are relatively expensive in Prague, and renting might be cheaper. That's a true. Still, even when the rates are going higher, still you will find yourself probably cheaper when you keep renting where you are right now if you're renting. So this is to keep it. It is mainly due to the high interest rate. So theoretically, when the rates get lower, now we are with 6%, and you will be able to refinance the loan with certain conditions. And the fact that you have 6% now, you can still take the mortgage, and if the rates get lower down to 3% in 3 years, well, you can still refinance. So I say don't count with it. Expect the worst, which is the rates will be the same. But if the rates will be better, you can break the fixation you selected with the bank, refinance, and get a better deal. So hopefully when this happens, your repayments will go down and it will not be so bad as if you are comparing it to the rent. But still, rent might be cheaper. Right, I'm slowly getting to the end of the presentation. I see some questions flying here. And my final 5 tips for property hunt. Now, as reality search in Czech, a lot of, let's say, common mistake by expats is, for those who don't know, when you obviously switch to English because the web page allows you switch to English, do the search, you get a couple of results, you click on it, you see the description. I mean, you read the parameters of the flat, but there's no description. But if you would on the same advert switch to Czech, magically appears a full Czech description. So what you should do, just use automatic translator, do the searches in Czech. And because the agents are lazy and they don't bother with translating the text from Czech to English, S-Reality doesn't do it themselves. So have it by default in Czech, and then you can see more information. Save the searches for watchdogs, save you a tremendous amount of time. You don't have to look on the market every day, see what's new if you're set your watchdogs very well on other websites as well. So put it in, you might need to log in, create an email address, but it's very worth doing it. Negotiate about the price. I was referring to how I do it, 10-20% down, easy. I say, of course, the likelihood of working, guys, don't get me wrong, it will be very low. But I'm speaking of, well, if I visit, I'm doing for investment, so 10-20 flats, well, then maybe 1 or 2 of them might agree with that. Who knows? Go to a lot of viewings. if you have the time now, I think it's very good to get familiarized yourself with the market, and that's the way to go. Definitely go put your foot into the door and start viewing properties if you're serious about buying property. You don't need to buy now. Even if you want to buy later this year, later on, still you can go on viewings now. The agents don't know, so you can just easily go there, and maybe, who knows, you will find something you love, and then you need to consider, okay, so do I want to buy it now or do I wait? And secure mortgage in advance. This is something we can help you with. Whenever you find the property, and when you agree on the price, typically we need to execute as fast as possible. Yes, the argument is a little bit lower when we compare it to a year ago. It's not as important as a year ago, but still, getting the mortgage will take a certain period of time when you find the property. So what I recommend to all my clients, let's get in touch a little bit before, so that you don't count on financing, which might not be possible at all. So some people might be going, okay, so I will get mortgage of this and that volume. But when we speak together, I might say, yeah, unfortunately, no. And I explain why. What I wanted to say is, do the numbers before you go for the property hunt. All right. So with this, how can we help? We have 10 minutes. Hopefully you have still more time. I see a lot of questions here, and I will be answering those. How we can help exactly? We help foreigners with buying properties. This is our specialization of our company. We are securing mainly financing, legal, and real estate. Real estate we do with cooperation with our partners who help with, or real estate agents who will help you with look for the property. Legal, we have our own lawyer who will help to make sure that the transaction is safe and sound from all aspects and there is nothing going wrong. By the way, there has been one horror story. If you read Prague Morning, have a look. There is a story about when the lawyer ran away with the money. Yeah, it was one of our clients. So because you should have really a lawyer, we were able to save the deal, more information there. Financing, this is our biggest USP or added value, is we are the best on the market when it comes to advising foreigners. Yes, it took me 10 years to be comfortable saying we are the best because of these numbers. Numbers are not there. What we do is we focus only on foreigners. I'm not an advisor who, I don't know, who happens to do also mortgages and whole insurance investments and also deal with foreigners. Everything we do is 100% expat oriented. I've been on the market 10 years. We've did more than 300 mortgages and property acquisition with 100% success rate. None of our clients ever lost a reservation deposit. So that's why I'm comfortable saying, you guys, feel free to get in touch. We will be glad to help. Right, now going to your questions. Now I will mute myself for a while. And I will see what questions we got. All right. So I stopped sharing because I guess there's not much to show you anymore. And I will be looking at the questions. So first one from Juan. Which areas in Prague may you recommend for buying a first small apartment? Right. The most hardest question at the start. I hate these questions. So when it comes to starting home or for a small apartment, I need to ask, what is the purpose of it? So first small apartment, is it for you to live in or is it for renting out? Big difference. If you want to live in it, what is it you're looking for? I wouldn't buy in Prague 1, maybe not even Prague 2, maybe not even Prague 3. Look for the amenities you are looking for example, public transportation. This is very important to keep how long it will take you to get to the city center. Also the new metro line, which is going to be put down to Montřany, if I'm not mistaken. So check the news about the new metro line. And this is like one tip which I can give you, I guess that's specific. Which areas in Prague you may recommend for buying a first small apartment? Now, I'm assuming it's not for renting out. If it is for you all to live in, well, you probably want to be somewhere. I wouldn't like to be too central because I've lived in Prague 1. It's a bit too touristy, you know. To be honest, I will be looking for places where it's the highest chance of appreciation. So that would be places which might be undervalued now. I'm not saying necessarily panel buildings, but I wouldn't be worried of some panel building if the price is right. Now, I like to say that my clients, after a certain period of time, they know better the property prices than me. Because typically, for example, this inquiry, First, a small apartment in Prague. Which area? So maybe we are going to talk about Prague 4, specific Prague 4. Okay, so what about náměstí Bratří Sinku? This is, I think, where the new metro should be. So possibly this Prague 4 has been always, let's say, lower on prices. So consider that area. If you don't mind panel building, you will see quite good value in terms of money in those panel buildings. I know I'm not giving you a specific answer. Like if I were you, maybe I would look for Prague 4. I would look for the, where is the metro? I wouldn't be worried of something with a good train connection. If it is Prague, like you say, you're asking Prague, but I would also look outside of Prague. Recently, I did a map for Prague Morning. Have a look on their website. There is 15 cities with commuting to Prague in less than 1 hour. So you can see where you can get from, for example, from Říčany, you can get to the city center faster than from Modřany, surprisingly. Okay, I move on to the next question is from what are the age limitations for loans in the Czech Republic? Right, so the age limitation is 36. If sorry, not to get the loan, to get maximum financing. So you can get up to 90% loan to value, LTV. And this is restricted by the Czech National Bank recently for clients with the age of up to 35. So if you're 36 and wiser, as I like to say, you cannot get the property bought with just 10%. There are exceptions possible, but this is one thing, one important age limitation. Second limitation, typically you cannot go with duration until your age of 70 in most banks. So if you are, I don't know, 50, then you can take the duration for up to 20 years until your age of 70, maximum 30 years though. Yeah. Other limitations are, depending on age, is how much you can borrow in terms of percentage. So again, with the age of 35 and younger, you can borrow a little bit less, a little bit more money compared to your average net income. So 35, 36 is the breaking point, and then 70 is the end of duration. Another question from Jessica. What are the taxes for owning a house? Do I need to buy home insurance? Okay, two questions. What are the taxes for owning a house? By house, I guess you mean also a property in general, so flat and house or land. In Czech Republic, we have a property tax. Every year you have to pay to the government a certain very small amount of money for just owning the apartment. Somebody says it's unfair. I don't think so. So if you own a real estate, you must pay to the government every year a fee. The fee is very low though. So you can expect for a flat in Prague, I don't know, if it is 80 square meters, I would say anything between 2,000 and 4,000 per year, or 5,000 to 5,000 depending on the location. I think right now in the government, they're discussing they are going to double this amount. I don't have this confirmed. I heard this as a rumor. So the tax most likely will be double, but it will be very low compared to other countries. If you compare it to UK or other, I don't know, America, we have very low taxes for owning a property. Also, we don't have any special tax for vacant properties. This is quite problematic. It causes also a lot of investors to just hold on to the properties, don't rent out, because why would they? Yeah, I want to say we don't have tax like this. We used to have acquisition tax of 4%. We used to pay 4% for buying the property to the financial office or to the government, but it got lifted 2 years ago. It's not coming anytime soon, and there are no talks of reintroducing it. So 2 taxes, property acquisition tax gone, and property ownership tax, yes, relevant, but very low. And the second part of the question, do I need to buy home insurance? Yes, you do. You need to insure the property if you get a loan on it. If you don't, if you buy it in cash, nobody cares, but you should do it definitely. But if you buy it with the mortgage bank is worried, what if the property is set on fire? We will not have security for our loan. Therefore, you must insure it if you take a mortgage. But the insurance, again, is very low. You can look for flats in Prague, I don't know, 5,000 to 10,000 per year, nothing crazy. Okay. Good. Then I have a question from Anon. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Sorry. There might be high chances. Oh, hello. Financing of 5-10%. Right. The question is, do you think there might be a chance to get a loan with 100% mortgage financing, or at least 5 to 10% down payment? Now, the answer is Unfortunately, it's not possible to get 100% mortgage financing, either 95% financing, unless you have another property as security. So for example, if you bought a flat already 3 years ago, and now you want to purchase a second property, then you don't need any down payment as long as you give extra security from the first apartment. This is what we call releasing equity. It's a little bit advanced move, but still very common. Now, again, you buy a property, it appreciates in value, you repay a little bit off from it, and then the value which is there like a free equity, we can use instead of down payment for the new purchase. So to answer your question, can I get 100% financing? Well, eventually, if you already own an apartment, but otherwise, no. I know there are some advisors out there who say, oh, I can get you 100% financing when I combine loan and a mortgage. You are not allowed to do that. The regulations say you cannot offset your own payment with another loan. It's against the rules. It's technically a mortgage fraud. And even if somebody offers you, I can do it, I would recommend don't do it. Because if the bank finds out, bad things happen. And I've never did it myself. I'm not looking to do it. And to all my clients, I say you need minimum 10% down payment as long as you are 35 and younger, or the younger of the applicants, if there are two of you. Another part of the question, can you remind us where we can find the buyer guide with the steps to take when we have a property? I recall you preparing such a guide. Thank you for noticing this. I will be sending it to everyone who gave their emails in the registration. So in a couple of days, I will be sending a recording of this webinar as well as this PDF guide. So it's coming. What are the requirements for a foreigner to buy a property in Czech Republic? Well, it's not a question relevant to the topic I'm discussing now. In general, you need income from Czech Republic or residency. This is probably the easiest how I can describe it. Now, it is more complicated. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll tell you precisely. But in general, it's very easy to borrow money in Czech Republic as a foreigner, if you know who to ask. Do you consider buying garages good investment today? Wow. I'm not sure if today it used to be good investment, definitely, but I never watched the garages as a price or as to consider as a investment, because I don't know about this. Like, you should ask maybe some other people interested or who are in the property investment. Myself, I'm sorry, I don't know about this topic. Another question from Nofar. Is Best Realty website a good place to search for flats to purchase? Yeah, it is. Just brace yourself for the communication barrier. When you buy from Best Realty, most often you're buying through the agents. The agents are paid from the seller most often to make sure the transaction goes smoothly, meaning communication. And you can really see, or I can see, a big difference between communication from Best Realty flats and S Realty flats. Best Realty, very often you write, they never come back. If you write in English, even worse. So in Best Realty, maybe find a Czech friend who will be writing those adverts to you in Czech, because the probability of the seller speaking English is lower than the real estate agent speaking English. So Best Realty, okay, but you are dealing with usually the direct owners, therefore, and please don't take it anyhow personally or offensively, the quality of the communication will be a bit lower. But you can also maybe leverage them better, the deals. Also, to keep in mind, Best Realty was recently bought by, oh God, I can't remember, MN Reality or Maxima, one of these two guys. So it used to be Best Realty now, but now Best Realty is owned by a real estate agency. So yes, there are agents there as well. Another question from Evgeny, related to, thank you for great effort, very interesting, related to refinancing. I read that the law changed and when there will be fines for refinancing. Guys, thank you, Evgeny, very hot topic. I did a video about it. It will be live in 1 or 2 days. I will be posting it on my social media. So please feel free to follow me or in the group of expats property owners. Yes, it's true. The law is about to be changed. I don't think it's still 100% confirmed, but it's very, very close to happening. Right now, you can refinance your mortgage pretty much free of charge. So when I was saying you can get 6%, and when you can refinance it, right now, you can refinance it for free. Of course, nobody would do it now because the rates are higher than what they used to be. But if the rates would be 10%, now they are 6%. If you refinance your mortgage from 2 years ago, it's pretty much free of charge. But the law is changing any month now, or definitely this year. And it will bring two things. None of them are nice. 2% early refinancing fee or up to 2% refinancing fee. So it means it will not be free anymore. It will cost you up to 2%. So yeah, it's not as good as it is right now, but it's also not terrible. And I'm also partially with the mindset, like it's not healthy for the banks. Like if clients are leaving from one bank to another whenever they want, that doesn't make good for the banking market. So therefore, there should be some limitations, and the limitation 2%. So if you go from 6 to 3%, well, still you save every year. It just means you will have to take off this one-off fee. So yeah, that's one thing. The second thing, though, however, is much more surprising to me, and that this law is supposed to work retroactively for all loans signed before. So even if you signed the law 2 years ago and you were in the mindset, okay, so I can refinance whenever the rates go down. Well, it was true back then, and I was telling it to my clients, you will be able to refinance, but nobody knew the law is going to change in a way that it will work anyway backwards. So good job, banking lobby. You did well. You played us right. So brace or keep this in mind. All right, from Andy, how many banks allow to do extra payments without limitation? The law projects us up to 25% of loan once a year. If I want to pay more than 25% of loan without a penalty. If I butchered the question, sorry for that. I say, so 25%, that is supposed to be unchanged. So whenever you have a mortgage, every year at the month prior to anniversary of the loan, you can put down a lump sum and to reduce the capital immediately. You don't pay any interest, you don't pay any penalty. So it's very effective to put it in the beginning of the loan, especially if you are high, if your rates are higher. So a lot of clients who are now thinking, do I put in 20 or 30% down payment? I'm telling them, look, it's not going to help you with the rate because you get the same rate if you put in 20% or 50% or just, the rates are the same. So consider this, maybe keep the money, keep it for yourself. You never know. As I said, the world is crazy these days. So keep it on your bank account, see how the first year goes. And if everything goes well, the next year, just put it back. So yes, you will repay a little bit more on the interest, but you have the security of having some financial cushion. And in general, I say this to all my clients, you shouldn't put your last savings into the mortgage down payment. You should always have some money set aside for what if situation. And with this, I just support it. So yes, you can put down 25% every year for free. This is supposed to be the same. And maybe rather do this than borrow a little bit less money to be on the edge. But the question was also if I wanted to pay more than 25%, well, then the law kicks in, which says the banks are entitled for for compensations equal to the real cost associated with you leaving the bank. That was the quotation of the law. It wasn't specific enough, therefore there were confusion. And if you do the early repayment, let's say 50% right now, it should be for free. If the law would change, meanwhile, I don't know, in 3 months, and then you will do the 50% repayment afterwards. Now, the first 25% should not be penalized as long as you do it in the time window. I was saying 1 month prior to anniversary of your loan. And then the second 25%, I would expect on it, the bank can charge up to 2%. We will know more when the law comes into effect and when there will be more like feedback from the banks. This was the first round of the questions. Now, let me have a look if there are more. Hello, guys. I'm back. 3 more questions I hear from, sorry for pronouncing this. One of the first questions I ask clients is, sorry, how do I pronounce your name correctly, Rosibel? So regarding the age for mortgage, how is the situation for 40 plus 50 plus 60 years old? The good news is the banks don't discriminate on the age except of the maximum duration. So somebody might think, oh, if I'm 55, likelihood of me getting the mortgage is way lower than if I'm 30. I don't agree. It should be equally the same. And I didn't so far found any client who would suffer with this. Now, if the numbers look good, if you have the right residency, if you have the down payment, whether you are 40, 50, 60, as long as your income is high enough for the repayments, it doesn't matter. And this is very important because if you're 40 years old, you can take the duration of the mortgage for 30 years. But when you are 60 years old, there's only 10 years left. So you might think the rates will be 3 times higher, the repayments will be 3 times higher. Not exactly, but they will be higher. What it means, if you're 60 years old, you must be earning more income than if you are 40 years old, because your repayments will be higher and also your requirement in salary will be higher. So I hope I answered the questions. There is no much difference except of the fact that you need to have higher salary to be approved for the same month mortgage. Another question from Anon. For those thinking of selling, what is the best way to still try to get the highest price despite becoming a buyer's market? Oh, I'm not a sales agent. I don't sell properties. And now what would I do? Like if I have a flat right now and I need to sell it, how do I get how is the best way to still try? So because the market is kind of it's going down, I wouldn't hesitate. So I would put it on the market now rather than wait. If you're waiting, wait for the market to recover. Wait for when the rates get back to, I don't know, 4%, 3%. This is, for example, what developers said. I think either Mr. Sekira or the guy from Central Group, he said, we're postponing sale of our flats until the rates get back down to 3%, because they believe the inquiry for people for buying properties will not be so high when the rates are high. So you need to wait for the rates to get lower for the market to recover. Do you want to wait that long? So either do it immediately, and then my personal tip would be different from anybody else on the market. Find a fancy agent or somebody to do something which they don't do. Find a good agent. If you want to do it yourself, well, good luck. Maybe invest into home staging. That should also improve. Do great photographs. Advertise on multiple sites. Yeah, as I say, I'm not a sales agent. I'm sorry, I'm not giving the best answer, but that was it. That was my 2 cents. Question from Ricardo. Are there areas around Prague to avoid for pollution or new highway constructions? How to find a city development plan? Ricardo, if you're still here, I recommend you drop this question to our Expats Property Owners group. Now, hopefully you're already a member. For those of you who are not, this is the biggest group on social media called Czech Expats Property Owners, more than 6,500 members, and we share tips like this there. Because I cannot tell you from the top of my head, I would have to Google it to share it with you. But if you literally copy and paste the same question to the group, you will get precise answers. Because I think, excuse me, I think recently somebody either shared this website or asked the same question. So rather than answering straight away, I will forward you to that. And we have a last question here of today from Juan again. The 90% is up to 36 or 35, or does it depend on the bank? It doesn't depend on the bank. It is flat rule by the Czech National Bank, and it means you must be maximum 35. So, sorry, guys. So if you are 36 already, unfortunately, you have to bring 20% down payment. Now, I must say 2 things. If you are married or applying with somebody who is younger, well, that helps because the bank will follow the age of the younger applicant. And I'm so glad this happened to me when it's end of the seminar. Otherwise, it will be much worse. Another thing I want to say, there are exceptions available at the banks, and I can confirm I'm successful with those. So even though you are older and you might be 36, you might just turn 36 or a little bit, or even around 40, I can inquire with the banks to put us to a waiting list, and maybe not this quarter, but next quarter, because the banks are allocating the exceptions based on quarters. So already this quarter is too late, but next quarter, I will put your name to the waiting list along with some nice cover letter and whatever why the bank should consider your application. And then we will wait, and then hopefully we will receive an information from the banker. We have approved you and you can get 90%. Nevertheless, you are 36 and above. So yes, exceptions are possible, but I wouldn't count on those because they're very scarce and very rare. All right. This is everything, guys. Thank you very much. Still 40 people are here who are who waited this long. That was exciting seminar today, or webinar. I will be hosting these very soon since I already bought the license from Zoom. So I might as well put it to a good use. Thank you again for your patience, for your time that you decided to spend your Sunday evening, and then To recap, we will be sending a follow-up email to everybody who put your email here with copy of this webinar recording, with the PDF checklist of a buyer's guide. Also, I will include an easy calculator in Excel where you can simulate the repayments yourself. Well, and I guess this is it from me from today. So please, if you don't have, my name is Robin. I have a company, Expats Finance. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on social media. Robin Petrasek is my full name, and I'll be very happy to speak to you, everyone individually afterwards. Thank you, and great Sunday, and happy property hunting. See you guys.